Hello and welcome to the Curse of the Dead Gods. Hope everyone's doing alright today. If you're not familiar with this game, it's a roguelike game. It came out in 2021 and has a very heavily inspired Aztec theme to it, or Mayan, I guess, depending on which one you want to look at. Now, it's a game I went through and I beat the final boss before, but I never truly beat the game. So there's a bit more to it that ends up happening, and I never went through the rest of it. So we're going to try and go through it and show everybody the game. Now we're about to go through a bit of a tutorial thing, and it'll explain a bunch of the mechanics and things. So let's get going. So you can definitely see a bunch of that, like, style. Temple looks very Aztec inspired. So there's light and darkness. Light will reveal traps. Standing in the darkness will increase all the damage you take. And so you can know, generally just by looking, but also at the bottom, there is an indicator. So you can see, use torch action to equip an attack with a torch. Torch can spread fire. Elements on fire spread light around. So, if you notice right now we have our torch out. You can pull it out by pressing A. It will also swing it. Now when I take it away, you notice the emblem at the bottom changes. So now that tells us that we're in the darkness, if you couldn't tell already. But then you can press A to swing it and light these up. And you can see these spike traps around the edge of the room. Now we can dodge using the right trigger and evade traps and enemy attacks. And it does take a stamina point, which we only have so many of. And once all those stamina pips are gone, you can't dodge anymore. So you need to stop attacking, stop dodging, all that to replenish your stamina. So, we'll step on a trap, and then dodge out. See? And you see all the pips going away, and we let them recover. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can use the attack actions with X and Y. You've got two weapons that you start equipped with. And you can chain multiple attacks to do combo finishers, as well as secondary attacks or like secondary combos. Now the finishers and the range attacks do take a stamina point. So we'll show you here. So just, oh, there's a bad guy. So if I just swing with X sword, it doesn't take any stamina. That finisher took 1 pip of stamina. One, two, three, chop. And now if we add in a Y to it, see we do a combo finisher. But if we just press Y, it doesn't attack. Ooh, and you see we dodged his attack. He went to attack us, we dodged. So we can do charged attacks as well. So if you hold the X button for the main weapon, you'll do a charged attack. You can do the same thing with your secondary weapon as well. So for the pistol, it has a perfect shot. So you time it just right and it does even more damage. Yeah, you can chain secondary attacks in with your primary, which I showed you, and it does like a combo one. These also take a stamina point, but they're really good, and depending on your different weapons, they can do different things for you. So, this will start with the charge attack on the X. There it is, 1, 2. Now we're going to go for perfect shots. There. That flashes what we're looking for. Oh, now we need to do secondary combos. There we go. Dodging. Very nice. So we can use a dodge action to evade enemies, and when we do it at the right time, we'll get a perfect dodge, and that gives us back the stamina point, which is really nice when we're getting attacked a lot. There's also the parry action. So by pulling the right or the left trigger at the right time, you can counter an enemy attack, but you have to do it like right at the moment the attack will hit you. And when you do it, it weakens them, meaning they take more damage, and it gives you 2 stamina points back. So if you run out of stamina while you're dodging, you can still parry, because it doesn't take stamina to parry. And then you can get your stamina pips back by parrying and open up the enemy. The kind of drawback to that is it can be risky if your timing isn't correct, because if you miss that parry and they are swinging at you, you will get hit. So we'll do a couple perfect dodges followed by parries, and then defeat them. Dodge. And you can see there's a little light effect that goes around your character when you do that perfect dodge. Now we'll go for some parries. See? Just like that, you get it right as the attack hits you. And pretty much all attacks are going to have a pretty bright indicator that they're about to go off. And then once you're done with the room, you go to the door and move on to the rest of the temple. We don't need any more practicing, so we're going to keep moving. We'll open up the torch so we can see what's happening. And right here is a chest. We interact with it, open it up, and we get a bunch of jewels. The crystal skulls are powerful artifacts that we can use at a later point, get them from fallen enemies. They are bound to our character. So, with many roguelikes, if you finish your run or you lose, a lot of the things that you've collected or gained over the course of your time, it goes away. It's all temporary. There are a few permanent things, and this is one of them. So you can use it at the underworld in order to get permanent upgrades. And then you have jade rings. Those are another form of permanent currency, and you can use them for new gear. It goes through the door. Alright, so each temple is a bunch of rooms. And so in the rooms have different things in them, and you can tell what they are based on the little icon. And so we get shown a map at the beginning. We start at the bottom of the map, choose a room we want to start in, and from there we can choose where we want to branch out based on what's available to us. So we got unknown room, a gold, and a gold. Now, I've played this a bit, so I have some experience on what I would like to do. If you just start playing, I recommend just kind of doing things and figuring out what you like, what works best for you. So I'm going to go with probably gold, and then if you see it branches up again, we could go for more gold, but the one to the left of that is a weapon icon, so we can try and get a new weapon. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some gold, and then we'll go for a weapon. Now something it's probably going to explain here in a moment. When we went through that door, there was a little icon that popped up. It's corruption. So the bottom right corner of our screen, there's a corruption bar. As it fills up, we accumulate curses. So each door we go through is going to increase our corruption. And there are also some enemy attacks that will also increase corruption as well. There's another factor as well. You can do blood offerings, and those will give you corruption as well. Go. Dodging. Ooh, dodging all those. Charge attack spin. Offhand combo. Dodge out of that. So like that attack, see how it's all dark and shadowy looking? If you get hit by attacks like that, that will increase your corruption. There we go. Not too bad. Now there are greed kills. And if you notice in the bottom right, there's a little kind of like spinning counter. Looks like the icon on the screen right now. So when you kill an enemy, timer starts. And if you keep getting kills while that timer is up, it increases the counter, and you get more and more gold for each enemy you defeat. But you have to hit enemies, parry attacks, or perfect dodges in order to keep that counter going. Because once it runs out, it starts over. Or if you get hit, it also drops off. And I barely kept it going there. Go parry. Close. Almost messed that up. Dodging that. That's something to keep in mind when you're playing. It can be pretty tempting to play aggressively and try and keep that counter going, but in the end, it's generally best to be a little safer. Now this item here, an enemy dropped. It's called a relic. You can hold 6 relics at a time, and they provide different bonuses for your character while you're going through the temple. But with most of the things, once your run is over, it goes away, so it's not a permanent thing. Now this is going to increase our lightning attacks. We could keep it We don't have any lightning attacks, but there's another option at the bottom of the screen, right underneath where it says take or leave. There's an offer to the gods. And if we offer to the gods, we don't keep it, but instead we get something else. So this removes a little bit of our corruption. And that's what we're going to do, because I'm not really interested. We don't have lightning attacks. I'd rather just remove some corruption. There's another crystal skull, and there are a bunch of chests in this room, so we'll open those up. Gain damage taken in gold, or gain gold based on your damage taken, whatever. We'll go ahead and take that one. The offering would have healed us, but we haven't taken any damage, so it's not a big deal. So we can open our inventory, look at our current gear. There's also like a codex and system, menu stuff. So if you open it up, you can see what we have going on. You can see our torch. There's our current weapons. These are our relics, and then you would have curses right there. Over on the left side, there's some other stuff, blessings. There's our stats. There's attributes. We'll go into those in a little bit. Codex will tell you bestiary, tell you about the enemies you're defeating. System is just your menu and stuff. More gold. Dexterity. So dexterity is one of the attributes. You can see at the bottom left, it now has a 3 above that symbol. And that is going to increase how much damage you do. So each point of dexterity increases our damage by 2%. Or is it 1%? I forget. It's 2%. So now let's go for a weapon. We don't have a ton of gold, but, let's see what we can get over there. So this room is a little different. You notice in the previous one, there was a little bit of walking, kind of exploring. This one is just a battle room. Ooh, I missed. Alright, dodging up. Ooh, we finished him right before we did that. And one good thing, too, if you ever start committing to a lot of your attacks and an enemy starts trying to attack you, most of your actions you can cancel into like your roll or a parry. So for example, I'll show you charge attack. Oh, and we dodge out of it. So if you realize like, hey, that was a bad idea, if you have enough reaction time, you can save yourself from taking some kind of damage and getting punished. Wait, dodge. There we go. So we got a little more gold for that. Let's take a look at these weapons. So they're offerings. So when you interact with weapon, altars, relics, attributes, you can make an offering in order to get something from it. So you can do gold offering and just spend the gold to get the item. The other option is to spend blood, but it's not your health, it's corruption. So you can get it without spending any of your gold, but you're going to build up your corruption meter and possibly take a curse. Now, at each of the altars is always going to be a cheaper option, a middle one, and then a more expensive one. The more expensive one is obviously going to be rarer, and you can tell that by the border of the item. So this one has a very simple border. You go all the way over it. This one has a much more elaborate one. And you can also tell because it has a lot more effects going on. So let's see. We can do a whip instead of our pistol. And we could just spend gold to get it so we're not getting corruption. We could go with a sword. This one does fire attacks. And it has some other bonuses, and it's okay. Or we can try and get this javelin, which is a two-handed weapon, a spear. We don't have one of those yet. Does more critical damage, more damage against electrocuted enemies, and more damage per point of perception. I'm going to take the spear because, 1, I like the spear. 2, I don't have a two-handed weapon. And then 3, I kind of want to pick up a curse to show you guys what getting a curse is like. So, offer some blood. And there we go. So, two-handed weapons, as it says there, you can use B for your two-handed weapon attacks to pull it out and then to attack. They can also trigger charge attacks, blah, blah, blah. But when you swing them, you'll notice that each attack is going to take 1 little pip of stamina. They do have a charge attack like this. You can't, do a combo attack with the other ones. Like I could with a sword and pistol where I swing sword and then pistol attack. You can't do that with this.
Especially when...
Alright, so next room we're going to take attributes. There's not really another choice, so we'll go there. And now we're corrupted. Let's see what the curse is. Curse of the Headless. Alright, we got a really different one. This is one they added a little later into the game. Was part of an event. But you can see kind of what it does. So, Memories of Haunted. 100 tragic deaths can bring both power and madness to the strongest warrior's soul. So there's always a little bit of flavor text to them. But as long as we haven't killed 30 enemies, we take more damage. But we do get haste, so we're faster. And that's kind of how all the curses work in a way. Like this one's slightly different because if we defeat 30 enemies, it more or less goes away. Like it doesn't go away, but we lose a negative to it. While most of the other curses are always going to have a sort of negative side to it, but then another part, like a sort of silver lining to it. So they can make some interesting changes in your gameplay. So yeah, the curses add modifiers to classic game rules and last until the end of the run. So you gotta be careful of the final curse. So if you keep accumulating curses and you get to the 5th one, you will start taking damage over time. I think that's really the only one there is. So you definitely don't want that last one. That will mess you up. Oh. So we canceled out of our charge attack to avoid that fireball. Dodge out of that. Now, see this wall here? It's cracked. You can break that. But you have to have the correct weapon to do it, or you need to have an enemy do it. Right here is an enemy. She did it. Damn. Alright, so we got bombs. We just got the spear though, which I haven't used yet still. So I don't want to replace our spear. We're going to offer it for gold or healing. Alright, a bit extra gold, but you notice the door closed behind us, so we can't go back. So you have to be careful when you choose what room you go into, because oftentimes you don't get a redo. Dodge of those. Gold. Dodge. Fireball. Damn. Keep it up. Light this up to get the room illuminated and remove any chains of extra damage. There we go. Dodge that. Now if you notice this spear, right, as we're hitting the enemy, the damage numbers are yellow. And a lot of time when you watch me do damage, it's like the sword or the pistol, most of the time it's a white number. Those are normal damage numbers, but then when you do critical damage, it turns yellow. And the spear does critical damage when you hit them right at the end of its range, with the spear point. Now here it's talking about our attributes. We did get some dexterity earlier. So each of the different attributes is like the power of the dead gods, right? Constitution increases your health. Dexterity increases your damage, and perception increases any gold you get, and the chance for enemies to drop gear. Now when you get to an attribute shrine, you have 2 different attributes to choose from, or the third option where you get both, but it's more expensive. I like to get both. Well, I'm pretty confident in how we're avoiding damage, so I'm only going to get the perception. And the good thing too about spending gold on something like perception is you get more gold. So you can oftentimes make up whatever gold you spent to get it. Provided you have enough time left in the run. If you get it at like the very end of your run, it might not do very much for you. We're gonna light this on fire. It explodes. And you'll notice right there, right? Enemies can be killed by the traps. So the environment is deadly to them as well. Need to make sure I use the sphere because that's what I got, and it does a lot of damage. I'm gonna wait for this, dodge. Ooh, there's a lot of fire spreading. Try to stand out of that, because if you can catch on fire, and that will do damage over time. We'll offer that for healing, since we have a good spear already. Now, bad thing is, I didn't notice that cracked wall. I don't have anything that can break it open, and there are no enemies left to do it for me. So we're just going to have to move on. Let's go to a relic room. We got a decent amount of gold, so maybe we'll pick something up without taking any corruption. More gold right there, more gold right there. And if we can keep a good greed counter when fighting enemies, we'll get even more. There we go. Damn. Now I had to be careful managing my stamina, because you notice I used all of it doing my 2-handed attacks. So this is going to give us more damage for our gold, we're probably not gonna get that effect, but for right now, we didn't need healing. Everything is trying to heal us when we offer them. Definitely wasn't gonna use that hammer. That's something to look at. Whenever you're looking at an item, you think about whether or not you actually want to use it or not, and that is the deciding factor on offering it. Where did my pistol attack go? There it goes. Nice. Yeah, you just need to take a look at the weapon or item, whatever it is, and really make a decision on whether it's going to help you or you would just be better off taking the offering. Same thing as the one we got. This does even more to our healing effects. I'm not really thrilled about any of these, but I'm going to go ahead and just take this, I guess. It's +6 constitution, so it's a pretty nice little increase. The other one, like, while it would give me a bunch more damage if I had gold, more gold, I don't know. I like those, but I like to spend my gold. I will say, this curse is kind of nice because being able to actually run quickly through the temple is pretty nice. Okay, extra to all healing effects. Yeah, I guess we'll take it. You never know, like, we don't really have anything that's like healing us right now, but some of those things you don't know what you're going to find, and it can be pretty nice to have that as an option. So we're gonna let that explode. There we go. Dodge. There we go. He's weakened. That's the thing with the spear, if you look at it, right? Finishers weaken the enemy, so that final finishing hit gonna weaken the enemy, which then makes them take even more damage. We're not using whips, so we can go ahead and offer that for gold. It's possible we would have gotten a whip, so maybe I should have like held on to it, but I figured we'll just take the gold, call it good. Dodging that, get stamina back, finish him. And you notice too, as we defeated the enemies, we do get a little pip of stamina back as well. Go over here, dodging, nice. It always pays to make sure that you have a little bit of stamina when going into a room, just in case there's suddenly a whole bunch of traps in there. Like some of those rooms, you'll walk in and then there's just traps everywhere, and you're gonna want to be able to dodge all of them. But we're gonna light this on fire. That go across, hit the dude, that dude, touching that. Letting the traps do some work. There we go. Okay, moving on. Dodging, dodging, dodging. I get that gold up there. Dodge those fireballs. Hop. And start with spear from the distance. Messed up the range a little bit. That's okay. Pistol attack. Get ready to parry. Dodge. Get rid of her. And we'll work on this. There we are. And he dropped a new pistol, so sufficiently charged range attacks always trigger perfect shots. We'll take it. It's also just a little bit stronger than ours right now, so we'll go ahead and equip that. And we'll see what kind of relics we have. Alright, critical damage. Okay, we're going to take this one because Spear is doing a lot of critical damage, and that's where a lot of our damage is coming from because it's our strongest weapon. So, we'll take that. And that's something to keep in mind. You think about like where your damage is coming from, what you're doing, what your build is, and then try and make your choices based around that. So spike traps are now triggered automatically and sequentially. So you can see it's like that trap is like, alright, that's not great, but also like it's not necessarily doing anything to us. Like you just have to play around it a little differently. It's not like, hey, you always take a spike trap damage. It's, you know, it's a different. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Keep it up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Oops. Okay. Oh, took damage. Bummer. Messed up that parry. See, that's what I mean. If you don't have the timing right for that parry, you'll get hit. That can be a bad thing. Alright. Now we're gonna upgrade our spear. Now, bad thing, right? So we'd have to use gold to upgrade it, or we'd have to use corruption in order to do it. Now it's going to add 70 corruption, which is going to put us at 82. And each time we go through the door, that adds 20. So if we do this, we're going to get another curse. So it's something to think about. And so we may not actually do it, because it's only going to add a little bit of damage, where I could do this pistol for gold, not take corruption, and it gives it another effect. So it does even more damage in the light. So we'll go ahead and we'll do the pistol. Even though I'm mostly using the spear now, we can just do that. It's the end of the temple, so it kind of doesn't matter. I also, another option, could have just not spent any gold or any blood offering. Like, you don't have to use the altar. You could ignore it if you don't like any of it and keep going. So I could have ignored it, kept my gold up over 1,000, and then I would have had that bonus from one of my relics to my damage. Alright, so this dude summons Jaguars. I'm gonna spin attack. Bam. Dodge. Get rid of that one. Dodge him. Parry. Parry. Now we're good. Alright, get the right distance. There we are. Nice. Alright, so he's summoning another one. We'll get rid of the Jaguar first. 1, 2, 3. Parry. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1. Okay, spears. Spear. Alright, get the right distance. There we go. He's gonna go back in the center and summon. Keep some distance. We're gonna ignore the Jaguar because we win. Some gold. And if you notice, he got rid of some corruption. Well, it's a little different. That was the final guy, so all of our curses go away. But in the future, whenever you defeat like a type of champion enemy, you get to remove a curse or your corruption, whichever. And now we interact with that. And we win. It'll give you some stats, how long it took, etc., etc. All the things you completed, perfect rooms, so on and so forth. Yes, little person. Alright, now we're back at the underworld. It's our hub. So we got a blood emblem, and we have 6 new blessings available, so we'll figure out what those are. The underworld is a place between life and death, where the dead gods slumber. So we can interact with the central icon in order to gain access to some bonuses. We can use the crystal skulls and jade bracelets there, or jade rings, not bracelets. And those bonuses are permanent, so they stay with us. So let's go ahead and check it out now. So here are our blessings. So they're passive abilities that are going to go with us on our attempts. And you can unlock new blessings and equip them in the slots above. So once we unlock all of them, you can have 3 equipped at a time. So let's check them out. Alright, so here we have different types of blessings, right? You can see some of them are locked. We have to get more of those blood emblems in order to unlock them. That's okay. We'll get that as we go. But you can read what they do, right? Killing multiple enemies within 3 seconds opens up Fury. Deal more damage for 6 seconds. Then Tamok's Blessing, Just Fire, blah, 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 blah. Like, keep going. You can read through all of them and kind of figure out what you like. Now, they're all kind of themed. This top row is all from Tamok. He's the Jaguar god. Then the middle one goes for Yats, who is the Eagle god. And then the bottom one is Sakal, the Serpent. And so they all have kind of different themes around them as well. If you look at Tamok's, he's centered around Constitution, Fire, taking less damage, or Fury, things like that. Yats is kind of a technical player. She does damage, parrying, things like that. And then Sakal goes with your perception, so she does a lot with like greed, gold, finding more gear, perception, so on and so forth. So we go to the next tab, it's our Forsaken Weaponry. So you use the Jade Rings to unlock different weapons, and when you unlock these weapons, you can find them in your temple runs. So, as it says right there. And each of the different weapons take more or less rings to unlock. And you can see there's a bunch of different weapon types. So we only have a couple that we used in that last little excursion. So you got swords, maces, throwing stars, pistols, daggers, claws, whips, bows, big two-handed swords or maces, hammers. There's a bunch of different ones. And something you could do is after you start unlocking things and you find what you like, you can also banish the weapons so that you don't find them in the runs. So you can really fine-tune what you want to find out in the temple. So our next tab is weapon altars. So the weapon altars pop up in the hall, and they have options for us to use when we first go into the temple. So instead of always going with the sword and pistol, these will start giving us different choices that we can start with. And as we upgrade them, you can get better, rarer, more powerful weapons to start the run with, instead of just a blank, simple, kind of not good weapon. And you can unlock up to 4 different altars, but it gets more expensive as you unlock them. And I think I will probably, and then you have Divine Favors. So Divine Favors will let you re-roll or kind of shuffle and refresh what is offered at an altar. So if you're at a weapon shrine and you don't like any of the choices that are there, you can use a Divine Favor to reset it and look at new options. But you only get so many of them for a run, and it will reset once you start a new run. And one more thing that we'll look at here before we call it good for today's video is the doorway. And there's a few things to take away from what we're seeing right here. You have a picture of the temple as well as choices and what kind of run you want to do. This one on the left is what we just did, the Blood Hunter Blunts. The Blood Hunter hunts. And it's the introduction to the Temple of the Jaguar. When you go to the right, this is the intro to Temple of the Eagle, and then intro to the Temple of the Serpent. And you can see that the temple tiers up. There's additional levels, and it all comes to a pinnacle. So in order to get to the next one, we need 2 more blood emblems, which we're going to get by completing these introductions. And then you'll see the same thing happen to get to the level 3, and then for that final pinnacle, same thing. There's also events at the bottom. It's kind of like daily things with like special modifiers, and these can get you a lot of extra crystal skulls and stuff. But yeah, there it is. That is the Curse of the Dead Gods. Welcome. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you all take care.